each game, it was its own weapon in this war, right? Like you would you would hold up the game and say like, this is the reason that this console that I now have brought into my identity, and so these are the weapons that I'm carrying into war. And salam and good evening to you, worthy friends. Welcome to TwinCast, a podcast of mysteries. We have the finest podcast in all the land. Streaming today, we pick up old video games, we dust them off, and we turn them around in our hands, and they won't break, I promise. Oh, I broke it. Anyways, my name is Cam, and we have with us, joining us today, is my esteemed brother, and he's always wearing his fez. It's Clark. How are you, Clark? Good. Man, the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin ticks me off so much I'm molting. Oh, I get it. And we do have a special treat for you guys today. Joining us for the first time is the true diamond in the rough, our niece, Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, yay, you're here. Yeah, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, Kylie?
All right, well, hi, I'm the niece Kylie. When I when I was little, these guys babysat me a bunch, and they basically raised me on video games. They were my suppliers, if you will.
The cool
and
uncles, yeah.
Pretty much.
But who's the cooler one, me or Clark?
I mean, it's not really comparable. You guys are both cool in your own ways.
Forget the console wars. We got the uncle wars here. Yeah.
But yeah, they introduced me to all of my kind of first games that I played that I loved as a child, and that some of them I still love as an adult.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. If you guys haven't figured it out yet, we're discussing Aladdin in all its glory of the 90s. We're going to talk a little bit about the movie, but most importantly, the two video games that kind of set the standard for the console wars there in the 90s. Before we discuss that, I just want to let you guys know what our podcast is all about. We're kind of a book club styled podcast, and we talk, what we do is we pick a video game every month. We go back and we play it. We like I said, we pick it up, we look at it and examine it, and we come back with a definitive verdict on how good that video game is today. So if you want to join us and play the games that we're playing next month, we're going to be playing an awesome game called Monkey Ball, Super Monkey Ball, on the GameCube. So, which you're familiar with, right, Kylie?
Oh yeah, I put many hours into Monkey Ball on your GameCube with Cam.
Yep.
I love that game.
All right, let's kick off our discussion here about Aladdin, and the first thing I want is to bring in Kylie and ask her what her general opinion and experiences are of Aladdin, the movie, and just the general property of Aladdin.
I honestly loved Aladdin growing up. It was one of my favorite movies. I know that it was kind of in that golden era for Disney, and Aladdin was one of my favorites because I really related with the female protagonist the most. Jasmine was always my favorite original Disney princess. I liked that she was strong and had a lot of her own opinions, and wasn't kind of just a go with the flow kind of character. But also that she had a really good message that it's about what somebody is like on the inside that really matters, and you kind of see that with how the story progresses with the love story between Aladdin and Jasmine, that it really is a message about what's on the inside is the most important.
Yeah, she was one of the first ones that kind of wasn't just like a helpless princess, right?
Yeah, and so that's probably one of the reasons that I was always drawn to her and everything. While I still like princesses like Aurora, Cinderella, Belle, and everything, I always felt like I had a lot more. I saw a lot more of the traits that I admired in Jasmine, and yeah, just so I always liked Aladdin because I liked that was my favorite Disney princess growing up.
Awesome. All right, Clark. How about you? What's your experience with Aladdin?
So we were 10 when Aladdin came out, and so it was a pretty ripe age, right, to be into a lot of this. Well, my daughter actually kind of pointed this out. I'd never really thought of it before, but I guess this era of Disney is often referred to as the Renaissance era, because before, well, I guess it was sort of
The 80s
Little
were kind of
Mermaid.
a dark time.
Yeah, like Little Mermaid is like sort of the like what kicked off the Renaissance era, and that's when people said, okay, now like these ones are obviously better than what came before it. Which I know there was like what Rescuers Down Under. There was like was it Dark Crystal? A few of those other
Uh,
kind.
was it the Black Cauldron?
Yeah.
Black Cauldron, that's what it was. Dark Crystal, that was like the Muppet one or something, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I knew what you were thinking.
But so yeah, like Cam and I kind of experienced the kind of the Renaissance at this time, and I remember loving Aladdin. And I actually remember when it came out on VHS, it was a big deal. In fact, anytime a Disney movie came out, it was a big deal. And I remember actually going to the store and buying it with mom, and it was $30 to buy it, which uh,
Wow.
I mean, it was pretty expensive because that would be like the equivalent of like $60-$70 today.
Yeah. It's
And
so interesting to see how much cheaper media has gotten these days too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think though that like, but I mean, it was also kind of where there's lots of video rentals. That's where you would get it. But I think parents looked at it as like, oh well, they're gonna wear this tape out, and we watched it a lot, and I remember watching it a lot, and it was one of the first movies I remember like getting new and watching it a lot. So yeah, what a great show.
Yeah, obviously Clark and I have a lot of the same. Um, we have a lot of the same experiences, and mine is the same as Clark's. We went to the movie theater, and I remember being blown away by the visuals of this because this was like the early days where they were actually starting to use computer animations. And if you guys remember the one scene in the Cave of Wonders where the lava's coming after him, and it was CG, and we're like, whoa, that's so cool. It was
Yeah, it like spins the camera around and down.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's really
it's
cool.
it was mind blowing at the time, and of course the music always stands out in this era of Disney movie. Like the music's great. It's
Oh, classic.
yeah, all of them are earworms, and I forget the guys who does it.
Alan Menken or whatever.
Yeah, he's classic, and it's this one and Beauty and the Beast. They were great soundtracks. So
Yeah. So one of the things about this era of Disney is like it up to like about The Lion King, I really liked a lot of these movies, but then I kind of aged out of it and wasn't as interested in. Kylie, you're kind of like a true child of the 90s. So you got to like really like be prime age for most of the stuff, even though some of it came a little bit before you. Like, where do you rank Aladdin in comparison to like these 90s Disney properties? Is it like toward the top? Or like what else would you put above it?
For me, it's pretty far up there. As I said, this one was my favorite Disney princess, and so it made it really easy for me to want to watch it a lot more. I know that if you ask my mom, she'll tell you I watched the absolute crap out of The Lion King. Uh,
Mhm.
but
another
that
great
I
one.
feel like I did that a lot more before I was really conscious of memory. But by the time I was old enough to like have thoughts and stuff, I started enjoying things like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, that kind of stuff a lot more. And if I had to choose just one out of all of them, I probably would choose Aladdin. Like it really was my favorite Disney movie. I think just if nothing else, just because as I said, I identified with the female protagonist the most.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we are a video game podcast here, so let's get into like the video game properties here, the things that's most exciting here. Let's talk a little bit about the console wars. Kylie, are you aware of the console wars of the 90s?
Well, I definitely wasn't at the time, but I
We are
but
veterans of the console wars.
Clark and I, we were on the front lines.
glad you guys survived. Glad you made it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
But
we may have been on the wrong side, but
oh, wait, what's the right side?
there is no right side. But
Oh, okay.
we could.
Well, no, go ahead, go ahead.
First, I want to hear what you feel like the console wars is. I want to hear your perspective of it.
Well, I know that Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, and the Sega Genesis were kind of at odds with each other. Obviously, they were competing for the same market, and they both independently released two Aladdin games basically around the same time. So it was truly like Clash of the Titans, where they were both competing for the exact same audience in the exact same genre with the exact same title based on a Disney movie.
Yes.
Honestly, kind of crazy that Disney gave rights to both of them at the same time to make a game. I don't know if that would fly so much these days. I think there would be exclusivity in contracts nowadays, but kind of interesting to see maybe where some of those kind of things started in the console wars back then.
See, well, back then Disney didn't make their own video games. Today, they would just hire their own like studio and release their own like mobile game and whatever. I don't think. I guess
they will license characters out for like Fortnite.
Yeah, that's
kind
of what I was meaning. Yeah.
But
like licensing that sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right, Clark. Why don't you give her a brief description of how it looked on the front lines?
Well, I mean, she's a child of the '90s, so some of this might feel familiar, just maybe in later generations. But we could only afford one console, right? So that's all that you had, and so you got what you got, and you didn't throw a fit, right? So
not only did you didn't throw a fit, you ended up defending the thing that you got.
Yeah, the thing that you got was like you were stuck with it for 7 years or whatever, and that's how long we had our Genesis. And each game was its own like it was its own weapon in this war, right? Like you would like you would hold up the game and say like this is the reason that this console that I now have brought into my identity, and this is this is now like part of who I am. And so these are the weapons that I'm carrying into war. And it just so happened that Aladdin was, like you described, Kylie, kind of like really on the front line because there was two distinct separate versions that you could so that's why this conversation is very interesting, because you could really compare the two. And it was a different time back then because, man, you would just get so invested and it didn't really matter. Like, you would just find any reason to defend your console.
Yes.
I mean, I saw that a little bit in, like, some of the PlayStation versus Xbox console wars. I think it might have been a little more intense back then, though. But it's kind of for the same reasons. Like, I obviously, because of you guys, I ended up more on the Sega side. Like, I played so little SNES. And then because you guys got PlayStations, that's what my brother ended up getting, and that's what our family had. And so then I was a PlayStation girl.
Yes.
And conveniently that actually worked in my favor because I ended up meeting my husband through PlayStation.
There you go.
So the console wars, like, whatever they are in whatever generation, like, it can divide and unite people for better or for worse.
Well, make sure to tell Dallin that we say you're welcome.
What Kylie needs to also understand is the reason why we joined up to the Sega army was kind of because of her dad. Derek had the Genesis first, and he is the one who was feeding us the Genesis side of things. He had a sweet Genesis with Dick Tracy on it, and we'd watch him play that, and
X-Men game.
The X-Men game was pretty
awesome.
awesome.
I remember playing that. I loved the X-Men game. The Dick Tracy one didn't hold as much of my interest, but the X-Men game was fun.
Yeah. So when you were little, you guys actually lived with us for a little while when you were a baby. And so you were literally sitting on our laps while we were playing these games.
We were your babysitter, and You were, yeah, like it was, all came by osmosis before you were even conscious. Just coming
So
in.
true. I get friends who like kind of ask me, it's like, when did you like start playing games or whatever? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there are pictures of me in like diapers with like my twin uncles who are like 11 years older than me. Just they babysat me all the time, and I'm pretty sure there's a picture of me like sitting like with them as like a 1 year old, and all three of us are just like staring up at like some game while you guys have like your controller.
Yes.
And
And I'm like, that
100%, this was one of the games too. This Aladdin
probably,
game.
yeah,
Yeah.
like legitimately, I love this game. Like from the time I started like receiving conscious thoughts, I was born into it.
All right. So we've established that this game it was crucial in the early '90s to the console war. So let's talk a little bit about the games themselves. And I think we should start with the Sega version because obviously that's the one that we played, and it's the one that actually kind of won out this little battle of the war. That a lot of people back in the time thought this was the superior game, the Sega Genesis version. In fact, it sold 4 million copies back then. That's a huge number. Um,
Yeah.
it was the fourth highest grossing game on the Sega Genesis.
Not grossing, but selling.
Selling, that's what I meant, not grossing. Yeah,
Yeah.
selling. Um,
Interesting. I didn't know that.
so what this is basically the reason why there's two different games is because Disney got greedy and split up the
Shocking.
license. Yeah, split up the licenses, one for the Super Nintendo and one for the Genesis. They wanted as much money as they could get. So the Genesis they gave they actually gave it to some other company first that didn't work out, but they ultimately gave it to Virgin Games, and I'm not sure if you are conscious of what Virgin Games or what, but they had done stuff like Earthworm Jim and something else.
Cool spot.
Yeah, cool spot. um, and then they gave actually the Super Nintendo one to a pretty well-known company called Capcom, which is a well-established Japanese uh, company. And
I'm familiar with both pretty much, pretty
well,
well.
yeah, and so, but Clark and I have had quite a bit of a history with Capcom. We loved all the Capcom games on the system before because we had a Nintendo, before this, and we loved all the Mega Man games and the DuckTale games and everything like that. So, um, but the thing that kind of set the Sega Genesis version apart is Disney actually took a hands-on approach with the Sega Genesis version, and they sent some of their actual animators to do the animated sprites of the Genesis version. Um,
Oh, okay.
so Disney
That's a huge
actually
advantage.
it was, and I'm not sure if how much you played the Super Nintendo version, but you can actually kind of tell looking at the two different versions that the Sega version looks much more like the actual uh, uh, movie. So, do you have anything to add here, Clark?
No, I mean it's just so interesting to put them side by side because yes, like you said, it's very apparent that the animations are just so fluid and expressive on the Genesis, whereas you can tell that like Capcom used whatever engine they had for probably like Mega Man X or uh, Ghost and Goblins or something to build the game, and it's doesn't. I mean, it looks good and it does have some good animations and stuff, but it doesn't hold a candle to what the Genesis is doing.
Yeah. Um, Kylie, I was going to ask you, um, just picking up and playing it now, how much did you have any muscle memory for this game from when you played it back in the day? How did it play for you?
Oh yeah, so for the Sega Genesis version, it was absolute muscle memory. It was a beautiful memory, so much nostalgia. I didn't skip levels.
You didn't do
I
that?
remember I didn't. I played it legitimately. I remember that Clark told me the code to skip levels when I was like younger, and it just stuck in my head. And he was like, "I probably shouldn't have done that." And I still remember it to this day, but I didn't. I played through it legitimately. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? One like, recently, because I knew I could pound that one out very quickly. Because I'm like, I know that I'm gonna be good. The muscle memory is gonna be there. I recently played it a couple of years ago. I bought it on my Switch. Had a blast. The gameplay was still just as fun as I remembered it. All the levels just as fun. The music was just as catchy. But I was playing it the day after having beaten the Super Nintendo version. Because I
Oh.
hadn't played that one, so I didn't have any kind of nostalgia or muscle memory or anything for it. And I played through all of the. I did an emulator of it, so I was on mouse and keyboard. It was awful. I should have just hooked up my controller and gotten it
Oh.
figured out. But that's neither here nor there. But
Oh.
I it was rough. But
Keyboard
I
controls.
so yeah, so I beat the SNES version and I just broke it up into like 2 days, and uh just played through that and everything, and then played through the one that I grew up on, and I was just like, oh, this one's like nice. Granted, I still found that playing them back to back had some really interesting comparisons that I didn't necessarily expect, so that was pretty exciting to see those differences and have that compare and contrast.
Awesome. I think we're jumping into like the meat of this discussion now.
Oh,
So
sorry, I'm getting too meaty.
no, no, no. We love the beef here, Kylie. So bring all the meat here.
We gotta have appetizers first, though.
Clark, I want you to bring your lens to this discussion and compare the two. Put one up against the other. Give us the Clark comparison here.
So, like Kylie, I jumped in and I started playing, and I had lots of muscle memories, and I just breezed through the Genesis version. It took me like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that, obviously, for the SNES version. In fact, I had a hard time kind of getting to it. I kind of started and stopped throughout this month before I finally powered through and got through it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It just doesn't mean it wasn't as familiar. And what's interesting is, as I was doing my research and just like watching some other opinions and videos and going through Reddit and seeing some opinions there, is most people thought that the Genesis one was much harder than the SNES version. And it just goes to show you the power of like muscle memory, because man, I thought it was opposite. Like, it was totally different to play. And whereas the Genesis version is really like kind of free flowing, it doesn't have as much weight to the controls. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was kind of noticing that in the SNES version, it felt like sometimes I was on a Mario Ice level when I'd like land somewhere, or just like little things with the controls were kind of not as crisp as I wanted them to be.
Yeah, and so there are like some obvious, and the SNES version just like it plays a little bit more like I don't know, combo game, whereas you are trying to vault off of enemies and grab onto ledges, and it feels a little bit more like parkour as you're going through it. And when you get
Yeah.
in kind of the move, like it feels really nice. Whereas the Genesis version, you got these really nice animations and other things going on as you're playing, but these animations do kind of detract a little bit now that I kind of look back, in that it makes things feel a little bit more like your animations never really get interrupted, like if you get hit by an enemy. And so that actually has a lot of like gameplay repercussions, where you'll just hear like ow and you'll flash, but you won't like move. Like, it doesn't interrupt the animations. And so it doesn't have as much tactile feel to it as the SNES version. That's like like when I compare them like up, that's like the theme that jumps out to me the most, is that the Genesis one, it plays fine, but it is a little bit more floaty, not as concrete as the SNES version.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I also noticed too is I had a hard time keeping track of my health on the Genesis one, because it always that little smoke bar thing coming out of the lamp, and I thought
Yeah.
that was weird too. Like, I'm not sure if you guys had trouble with some of the later bosses, but
In the Genesis version?
in the Genesis version, like I had kind of forgotten like the how Jafar went when I was
How
playing it.
spammy Jafar was.
Yes.
I
And
forgot about that, and I was playing. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't bother beating Jafar this run through because I said it was like last night or something, and I was like, I don't care. Like this is so spammy, it's driving me nuts. It's honestly my biggest complaint about the Genesis version is how spammy he is. It's just, oh, I
yes,
actually liked the Jafar fight in the SNES better.
yeah, the best. I mean, the biggest thing I have about the Genesis version is the bosses are pretty boring. It's just
Yeah.
like you just have to throw apples at them and just find
They're
the
not they're
spot.
not really well thought out, right? And they're not really that difficult, except for Jafar being a little bit spammy.
Yeah,
I had
fair.
recently beaten the Genesis version. I don't know, 4 years ago or something when I got my my Super Analog NT, and so I think I still had a lot of muscle memories. I knew exactly how to beat Jafar, so I didn't even die to him. Like when you know what to do, it's not hard at all.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you just have to get in the spot and just jump over the little flame things he sends
Yeah,
out and
the
just
hitbox on him
huck
was kind
at.
of weird
Yeah,
though, so it wasn't that was not a level that I actually played tons and tons when I was younger, and so that was something I actually didn't have the muscle memory for. I've beaten it a few times, like I have. This time I just didn't really care that much because I'm like, I know I've beaten it. I got here. I know this is the end. I'm pretty sure I was probably like an apple away from killing him when I died, and I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm done. um, but yeah, that wasn't something I had the muscle memory for, and so that's probably one of the reasons I got more frustrated with it. Most of the time I would get on, I would play the levels I liked, and so I would skip to like Genie's level, and I played so much of that one. I had so much fun going back and revisiting that with the nostalgia attached to it, but the Jafar fight, I didn't have the muscle memory for it.
the genie level was very interesting. In fact, both games had kind of like a genie like lamp, like you're inside the lamp
Yeah,
level. And
yeah, they're both really fun, honestly. They're my favorite
yeah,
levels on both sides.
my favorite memory is just going across the beard of like you hang onto his beard
Yeah.
and you
And
And
he
they're
pulls
making faces down at
faces.
you
he pulls
while
faces.
you're like going.
I kind of think that was one of the more rage-inducing levels if you're not used to it, because there's a lot of places there where it's just insta death if you fall off, and
True.
so if um, my least favorite part of the whole game is by far the dungeon where you have to do the Mega Man blocks that like appear and like come out,
Oh,
and you have to like time the jumps. That
Did you
is,
notice? Oh, sorry. I
oh,
was
I
gonna
just
say
say
it
that
kind of.
was rage inducing to me.
Oh yeah, that can be frustrating. Did you notice there's one spot where you like jump from like a block to a block to a block, and then you start doing switchbacks. But like the block you jump to right before the switchbacks, there's a weird hitbox on it, and the timing is also kind of funky. And like
Yeah,
I
there was
feel like
one
I had problems
block.
with that specific block as a kid too, and I was going through now with my adult brain, and I was trying different timings with it, and I was trying different kind of like hitbox areas of it, and it's just so janky.
Yeah, I know. I think I know the exact one because I had problems with it this time too. I think that if you kind of land on the right side
Yeah, yeah.
of the
The
hitbox
hitbox is
is,
very
but the thing is that you're
overside.
jumping from the left box to the right box on this one that I couldn't hit, and like I would like jump at the last second. I would make sure the animation had pushed the block all the way out, and then I would still fall through, and
Yep,
I'd be
same.
like, "What's going on?" And so I think like yeah, like I mentioned, I think you needed to kind of land to the right side of that
And I
block.
think I don't I think that the hitbox for it appears really late in the block coming out as well. So you really have to wait till like the last second, and you have to jump super far to the right.
um, there was a couple times throughout these levels where I got a little bit frustrated because I forgot like you have to like jump up and grab onto the ceiling to get to the next part, and I was like
Oh.
running around trying to figure out what to do, and I'm like, maybe I need to jump and grab the ceiling here. Oh, yep, you got to jump and grab the ceiling here, and that was just a little
That's
frustrating.
one kind of thing about the design between the two games I think is interesting too, is because I everything seems a lot more claustrophobic in the Genesis version. I think the sprites are just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Um, things are a little busier on the screen for the Genesis, and so it's not always quite apparent where you're supposed to jump to or where you're supposed to go. Where seems things seem pretty like straightforward and linear with the SNES version.
Well, the big takeaway I have with these two games is um, Capcom only brought an apple to a sword fight. And that's not good enough, right?
Yeah, because you can slice through the apples.
So one of the things that this is going back to the console wars conversation, right? Because like
Yes.
this is the '90s, and you probably remember '90s marketing. Like everything was like
Extreme.
edgy and extreme, and dude, you get a sword, that's awesome. Like one of the biggest things that we had is for Sega kids is like, oh, the Genesis is much more cooler and mature than what's going over.
Not that you're biased.
Yeah, well, I mean that's just the way it was, and I think that's literally. I think that placement that they had in the market, at least that they built through their marketing, is what left them ahead of the SNES for a little while. Is because that, and this game is kind of a symptomatic of that because it leaned into like that edginess a little bit because he got a sword like the whole game. He was just his body count is what by the time you finish the game, hundreds of people.
Well,
Thanks for your royal guard in Agrabah.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a magical sword because they just poof into smoke when you hit them. So.
Oh, okay.
It's just teleporting them away, Clark. Come on.
Yeah, we can't have any violence in children's gaming.
One of the things too I want to mention is like graphics were like they're still big. People still talk about graphics and people still think graphics are important, but like I think we really like kind of forget like how really important it was back in this time. Like people talked about graphics all the time, and the fact that this game just had better graphics and better animation, just looked better, I think like that was the most important thing. Like when people talked about video games, like it didn't matter like that it, maybe technically looking back, like the Capcom game might have been more technically better. This Genesis like had it where it counted. Graphics had the blast processing.
Yeah, and they also used some sort of like a new technique for the animations on this, right? They actually had the hand drawn animations from Disney, and then they digitized the actual hand drawn.
Well, see, that's not
sprites, right?
That technique is not like super new. They were doing that way back, like Prince of Persia, like rotoscoping, right?
Yeah, but
maybe they had some technology that made it faster or better or something. But yeah, rotoscoping, yeah.
I mean, just look at the two sprites and their animations, and I mean, we already talked about this, but it's way better on the Genesis. So, well, let's see what other important things do we need to hit here. What music, Clark? You're the one that has the fine ear for the music on the video games. I wasn't really.
I'm not like blown away that much by either. It had some all right remixes, and I think the Genesis sounds appropriately chunky. Like I think they'd actually do a good job with the Genesis sound chip, and it could be me because I'm maybe nostalgic for the way the Genesis sounds, but I think it sounds good here. I do think that the little original song that they play for like Abu's mini games in here, and I think it's also. I think they use it for one of the final stages as well. It's kind of like a anxiety type song. I think
that yay.
Yeah, it's trying to build anxiety. I think that sounds pretty cool. But otherwise, it's just like it does what it's supposed to do. It brings the music in digitally, but both of them like the songs are too short. So if you're getting stuck in a level, you're gonna pull your hair out because you're gonna get really sick of the songs.
Yeah. Do you have any observations about the music, Kai?
Honestly, I just started singing along with all of the songs. Not to get too off topic, but on the topic of anxiety music and Sega Genesis still, my number one anxiety song that will still give me anxiety to this day is from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 when you're underwater. Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
Ultimate anxiety song.
Every millennial hated that because no, you don't want to drown. and you're moving so slowly under the water.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's very, very stressful, very, very stressful. But as far as this game goes, I found myself just singing out loud to the songs more than a time or two. I wasn't really that much of a uh critical I don't have that much of a critical ear for music, but I was able to just enjoy myself, which I think is kind of what they were going for the general public like me that doesn't know anything about music to just enjoy it and maybe want to sing along. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same opinion as Clark. Is like they're fine for what they are when you first hear them, but if you're stuck on a level for a while, especially like we'll say that first level where you hear the song start over again, you hear the da 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 da, and it starts playing
Dun, dun,
again.
dun, dun,
And then
dun,
yes, and then you're like, oh, duh, this again.
dun.
But another thing that Clark brought up when we were talking about music was the Abu mini game. What do you guys have any thoughts about that mini game and how fun it was? Or
I totally nailed it on my first try. At least the first Abu mini game, where you where the barrels are like dropping down and stuff. I didn't.
you
I got
nailed
all the
it,
way to
huh?
the end. Yeah, I didn't die on that one. I died on the cave one. The cave one's really hard.
I think I've only beaten the Abu minigame like once because I never really cared about it. And I'm pretty sure that one time was when I played through the game a couple of years ago, when I like just bought it on my own and everything. And I like finally like beat it and I'm like, yes, lifelong goals achieved. But the Cave of Wonders one, I was not paying attention. I think I like looked over to the side and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in a mini game, and so I just blew it this time.
Well, the last thing I kind of want to talk about is kind of like the differences in the makeup of these games. Um, the Genesis version, we're talking about these mini games here. That's something you actually have to unlock by finding something that's hidden in the level. That's one thing that's the Genesis version did a lot more than the Super Nintendo version is you have to collect all kinds of things. And I remember when I hopped on, was playing it this time, I'm like going around collecting apples and I'm collecting scarabs and I'm collecting genie heads. And I'm like, there's these balloons that are hearts, and I'm just like, I don't know what these do. I guess I just collect them.
You weren't paying attention. The opening splash screen like has like it tells you what everything is.
No,
Oh, that screen's a hot mess and we all know it.
I just skip it. So it's more of a collection style game, the Genesis one, whereas
Most of that stuff is all optional. Um, you do have to like you said, the scarabs in like the desert level you have to get. And I think there's like the snake charmer like ropes. Like you have to like find their flutes a couple times. But
Yeah.
most of it is optional.
yeah, and there's also like
It's
rubies.
not optional for me.
Are
There's
you like
rubies.
one of those 100% completionists, Kylie? Like you have to do everything?
It depends on the game, but the games that I really love, like this one, yeah. So it did. When you said that it took you like 20 to 30 minutes to beat it, I'm like, oh, he just probably went through and just beat the levels. Like I was getting all the little things, seeing if I remembered all of the little secrets and stuff, and I was proud of myself. I feel like I remembered pretty much everything. Like I'm like I feel like I know a lot about this game, and I
Did you
hopefully
get
that
that
didn't
one up
mess up
at
the
the
audio, but
beginning of the desert level?
yeah, and the one when you have like the Mickey ears.
Yep.
I got both those one ups. I got two up.
Did you guys catch most of those other like Disney references in the Genesis version? Because there's like a
There's the
couple
Mickey
of them.
ears. That's
Yes.
the big one that I remember. You mentioned a
I
couple. Go ahead, Kai.
sorry. Oh, I was gonna say I saw the you know when the Sultan's playing with like his little like figurines and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I think that in the movie that's actually about the part it was at, but maybe not. But he was playing with the little figurines, and in the like final area and stuff like that, and the figurines they've got like the beast head, or maybe it's in like the Sultan's palace. They've got like the beast head on some of his little
Oh, I
figurines.
didn't notice that one. That's cool. I'm gonna have to go back
Yeah.
and check that out. There's a
Oh,
couple that
that's what I missed.
yeah. What I saw is like in the dungeon. There's a reference to Pirates of the Caribbean where there's like
Oh.
someone behind bars and a dog outside with keys in its mouth, and they have like food that they're trying to lure the dog in to get the
Wait,
keys.
what part is that at?
The dungeon, like actually
Oh,
right
in
at
the
the very
dungeon. Oh, okay.
in the dungeon,
Okay.
like right at the very first. Um,
Huh. I don't
there's
think I've ever
also
noticed that.
there's also bones in that dungeon that have the Mickey Mouse ears too. And the last one I saw is like the second level. There's the higher. You can see like the hieroglyphics on some of like the pillars, and there's like Goofy on some of those
Oh, I
hieroglyphics.
do remember that. Hmm.
Yeah, I remember that one too. It seemed like there was a lot more Easter eggs like that in the Sega version? Because I don't ever even remember seeing any of those in the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of them either.
I didn't see anything either.
Well, I guess the genie does have Mickey Mouse ears at the very end of the Super Nintendo version, but that's in the movie. That's like a
Are
direct
they
reference.
or are they the goofy? That's the isn't it a goofy hat? It's
Oh
not
yeah,
even Mickey
maybe it's a
Mouse ears.
goofy.
It's, yeah,
Yeah, maybe it is the goofy hat. Like whenever he says like we're going to Disneyland or whatever, and he's got
yeah.
his Disneyland gear on.
Well, let's kind of finish up this discussion with just kind of talking a little bit. I mean, this is Aladdin. We all know the story of Aladdin, but what are the differences of the kind of story between the game and the video game, the video game
The
and the
biggest
movie?
the biggest one that jumped out to me is for some reason Abu gets lost in a pyramid in the Super Nintendo one.
Yeah, that one is kind of strange.
I was
I
like, oh, why am I in a pyramid?
I was kind of wondering why the pyramid was even a thing. I'm just like, is this supposed to be? Even as I was playing it, I'm like, oh, is this supposed to be a stand-in for the dungeon level? Because I'm like, was there a pyramid in the movie I'm forgetting about? So it was just kind of. I feel like that was kind of me comparing those two levels in particular because I think that they're kind of comparable levels for
Yeah,
what they're supposed to be.
I think they just wanted to pad out the time, and they're like, "Oh, here's something that's vaguely Mid Eastern. People like pyramids, right? It's the '90s. Like mummies are still kind of big, so let's throw Aladdin in."
We're in Egypt now, sure.
Yes. There's a pyramid here in this cave of wonders. So another thing that I noticed I think it was the same for both of the games, but I can't quite remember. They don't have like Jafar betraying them and closing up the Cave of Wonders, right? You don't get to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like the Super Nintendo one might say something about Abu like stealing the lamp back. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure there's like a little like text on the screen that says, "Oh, like this happened," but it doesn't really show it or anything.
Oh,
Both
yeah,
of
I
them
guess
have
so.
blurbs, but I never read either of them as a kid or now. I was just going through for the gameplay.
Well, and for some reason, the Sega version has Jafar being like dressed up as the beggar right at the beginning too. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Like he's
Mhm.
like starts off and he goes and he tells Aladdin as the beggar that he needs to go get like the pieces of the scarab, which I don't think happened in the movie either.
That didn't happen in the movie. In fact, then he sends him into the Cave of Wonders, and then they don't even like since he doesn't betray him there. He doesn't even really know who Jafar really is. In fact, you don't even see the real Jafar until the very end of the game, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That's a little
I hadn't thought
strange.
about it. Yeah.
I
I
don't
think
think
it
we even
was.
I don't think we even cared back then because we all knew the story of Aladdin. We all seen the movie. We kind of knew what was going on, and we just go to the next level,
Like
right?
so many games back in this time, it didn't matter. Like you said, like just let me jump in and let me start playing. In fact, I think most of the time we were just like trying to hit start or A to get past the little story cards.
I think I even brought it up to one of my friends that I was like playing it for because I said I had some friends that were watching. I was just like streaming it to them in Discord. This is old games. And I even brought it up to them. I'm like, these like little like some of the blurbs when I was reading them at the very beginning, and then we'd jump into a level, and I would tell my friends, I'm like, if I hadn't seen the movie, I don't think that this would be very clear about what was happening.
Yeah.
I actually made that comment. So the fact that you guys bring that up, I'm like, oh yeah, I literally said that a couple of days ago.
Well, I mean, the people who made these games, at least I know for the Sega version, it was like a team of 7 people, and they had like
Wow.
eight. They had like 8 months to make this game, and it's pretty incredible what they did.
Well,
It had-
compare that with development today. Like games take 5 years to come out, and they take teams of like 300 or 400 people. So it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Guess it
It's
depends on what studio you're going with.
Yeah,
well, I mostly play indie games nowadays anyway.
that's true.
So, I mean, I bought this nice computer, has an awesome graphics card on it, and I play Slay Spire. So, I mean,
Yeah. I've been playing a bunch of Monster Train 2 lately, so
I mean, that's what we talk about. All right, well, let's kind of wrap up this discussion here. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add that's pertinent to the
Well,
discussion about Aladdin
I
as a whole?
mostly I want to get your guys' opinion on some of the direct comparison levels. So like the carpet ride sections in both games. Which one do you guys prefer?
I
Mm,
hate both.
the Genesis one at least kind of points you to where you're supposed to go most of the time, so it's easier, I think. But
Yeah,
and
the Super Nintendo one was pretty frustrating. It's a lot like the I don't know, like Battletoads or something like that. Like you have to kind of memorize it, but once you memorize it, it's not hard.
Yeah, I wasn't too bad because I truly didn't remember like most of the up and downs and everything. And kind of just went with my gut, and I'm just like, oh, cool, beat it first try. Whereas the SNES version, and to be fair, there could be some like deep memories there because like this was like a core memory game for me. This was like kicked off some of my love for like gaming, and was one of the first games that I played when I was little, and so like there might be like just some like really like core muscle memory that I don't even realize going on there, but for the SNES, like, man, I felt like I died so much on that one. I died so much. It was the rocks coming from the top, and
Yep.
you're going through like, and there's like the little mountains, and there's the stuff, the stalactites coming down, and you've got the big wave coming for you as well, and it just was so much happening. Um and it was just like stressful and a little anxiety inducing as well, and I feel like things were coming at from all angles, and then when I played the Sega Genesis version, I was like, I can't go forward and back, I stay in one kind of spot, I just go up and down, so it takes a lot of that decision making out because the SNES had like full movement, whereas the Sega Genesis, your only options were to go up and down to avoid rocks.
Yeah.
So a little bit more
What?
challenging on the
Yeah.
SNES, in my opinion.
What about something that the Super Nintendo version did? Is they had a bonus level that didn't like have like it didn't have any challenge to it. Like it was just the carpet
the
ride,
carpet
like
ride, yeah.
the romantic carpet ride. You were just collecting gems. Like, do you guys think that? What do you guys think of that design philosophy? Throwing in something different there.
I mean, it's kind of cool nowadays when you kind of can see, oh, they're just breaking this up, and it's like a reprieve, and it's supposed to be just this like gentle like love section. But I think me back in the day, I would have scoffed at that and said, give me more platforming and excitement.
Don't want any
And
of this romantic stuff like what's going on back there.
to be fair, okay, so I also was like, this level was kind of nothingness and everything as I played through it now, but I was kind of like low on health. I think I was like, I had like one heart, and then I had enough gems though that I like collected some gems through the level and managed to like get my heart meter like refilled and get the extra heart. And I'm like, sweet. I guess if nothing else, that level served as a health boost for me.
how about you, Clark? What did you think?
uh, I thought it was kind of boring. That's why I wanted to ask you about it because, like, I mean, at least they were trying something different, I guess. There's really not a lot of. I mean, the Abu mini game is obviously stressful. Um, they both have like some sort of gambling type thing, like the I guess it's like a roulette wheel thing in Super Nintendo version, and the Genesis has that like slot machine thing that I can actually hear in my mind right now. I can hear Jafar's laugh.
Jafar
Jafar.
going.
Yeah. The amount of times I click Jafar is unfortunate,
Yeah.
to say the least. But
And
what
yeah,
was it with all the child gambling back then?
That's the way it was. But I actually prefer the Sega one because you can just click through it real fast because you don't like I don't even really care.
Hmm.
The Super Nintendo one takes a while for it to stop and you have to sit and watch the animation and it's just kind of annoying. But
yeah. Oh, how long did it take you guys to figure out what that? I thought it was a scroll item, but did it's
Oh,
not a scroll item.
the
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 the cape
I,
thing or whatever
yes,
the
the
it's
parachute.
I didn't
like
even
the
figure
parachute
that
thing.
out. I didn't even figure out what that was until like after I'd played a couple hours. Like,
I actually
I
watched a playthrough first, so I knew.
oh,
I didn't, but because I had to bind all of my controls since I was playing it on my mouse and keyboard, I had to
oh,
go into the options, look at the controls, and I'm like, what's this hover control? And then I had to bind all my controls, so I was aware of it from the beginning, just because I had to bind all my controls from like WASD and everything.
see, look at this. Like, you took the hard path, and it made you stronger. Yeah.
Kylie, next time you gotta use a controller, just hook in one of these, and what you do is you bind
I had this nice one right here, but I couldn't get it to work with the emulator I had, and I just didn't care.
Oh.
So.
Well, most emulators let you bind rewind onto one of your controls. So what I do is if I'm playing on an emulator and I just want to get through the game, if I get hit or whatever, I just rewind 2 seconds and then I just go again. And I never have to do save states or anything like that. Rewind is the greatest thing on emulators.
Well, I guess I just played the SNES version super legitimately then, with no rewind, and I had to input like like Jafar, Aladdin, Genie, Abu to like get back to where I was.
It was like
and,
an
like, the next
authentic
day.
experience. Yeah.
Holy cow. Props to you, Kylie, because emulators have just ruined it for me now, and I just I'm like, I'm gonna power through this game in one sitting. I'll sit down and I'll just play through it and just rewind until I figure it out. So
Honestly,
you did it.
fair.
You did it right.
Look at this
I needed to get the full experience.
This like cell phone screens ruining all of our attention spans. We can't even sit down and enjoy something. We have to.
Those
We can't
darn
be
millennials.
punished. We can't be punished by these games anymore.
We're weak now, but not Kylie. She's not.
But
Actually, I
overall,
played on my CRT, and I had to play kind of old school like Kylie.
yeah. But
You
overall,
only Cam cheated.
yes, I cheated.
No,
I-
I'm not
and
saying
you should
at
feel
all.
bad.
Like, if I could have, I would have done it that way.
I powered through the SNES version, and I don't regret it at all because I am a Sega Genesis stan, and I think that game's better. But I am aware enough to know that I am biased here. It's because of my allegiances in the console wars and why I like the Genesis version better. So.
Well, kind of one thing that I think that it's not as big of a deal and everything too. Also, is that sorry, I'm getting really wordy with trying to spit this out. But for the SNES version, I said you had to like put in people's faces for like the code to get to certain levels, but then it was like a 3-block thing of levels. So then if I say I lost at the very last jump on the genie level. I died and it was my last death and everything. So I had to replay through the first 2 chunks of like that level.
Yes.
So I had to basically play 2 levels and then get to the third part and everything again in order to do it. And that's something that like a rewind would have just been really nice and would have saved me probably an hour of my life.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about Abu and his role in these games. I just wanted to mention that in the Super Nintendo version, it is kind of cute that he follows you along in the levels and stuff like that. In the Genesis version, he is not following along with you or anything. You just have to get his little thing and play the mini games with him, I guess. So, and I guess you do have to free him once in the
In the
Sega
Sand
version.
Temple.
Yeah.
No, the
And
Genesis version or the
You're thinking it's like a boss fight, and it ends up
Super
not
Nintendo.
being. You just like hit the mask or whatever, and he falls out.
No, you have to free him in the Genesis version too.
Wait,
He's
why
stuck
do I-
in like he's
Oh
yeah,
that's right. He's in the cage.
he's stuck in the cage. In fact, the first time I did it, I'm like, oh, there's Abu in the cage, and I jumped up and I'm like, I guess I keep on going. So I kept going, and then I couldn't get past the level. I'm like, oh, I guess I got to go back and free Abu. But you have to like jump in a specific spot in order to get him. So
Oh,
anyway.
it's just like in the middle of the cage or something, isn't it? It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Cool.
is.
Not
you
even
have to- didn't you
saving
have to
Abu
free him?
can.
Didn't you have to free Abu in the temple as well?
Yeah, that's
on
what I was
the
referencing.
SNES. Okay.
Clark
Yeah,
was,
he's
yeah.
he's in that mask, so you're like following him through the temple. You get to the end, you think there's like a boss battle, and you like hit the mask just once, and Abu falls out of
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and finish up our discussion here. What we do, Kylie, at the end of our podcast is we rank the games we have, and this is kind of a special edition, limited edition, where we're going to be ranking two different games at the same time. All because of the console wars here. So we basically do it like 1 through 6. Like 6 being like the best. It would be like it's it it's still an awesome game today and would be one of the game of the years today. Spoiler alert, none of the games that we've done have ever gotten to 6. So that and then it goes all the way down to 1, whereas not only wasn't good then, it not only it's not good today and it wasn't good then. So we'll give you a chance to think about what your rankings will be, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Clark here to give his rankings on these games and explain why he's ranking these games what they are.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you go and like source opinions on Reddit and read through discussions, like it's still really divided. I think a lot of it is just kind of drawn along the battle lines for the console wars. Um, I do think that objectively there are a lot of things better about the SNES version, but ultimately it's a little bit slower, and the nostalgia that I have kind of glosses over all the bad parts of the Genesis version for me. So if I'm sitting down and I'm choosing one of them to play, like 10 out of 10 times, I'm going to choose the Genesis version just because it's so comfortable and nostalgic to me. That doesn't mean, though, like that I wouldn't recommend the SNES version to other people. I think actually there's some things that are objectively better about the way that you, like the parkour type movement through there, I think is objectively better, feels a little bit more weighty and um, precise than the Genesis version. But yeah, I'm gonna give the Genesis version a 3. Kind of right in the middle of the pack. It's fun to play. I think everyone should check it out. It's one of the top selling Genesis games of all time. So if you want to introduce someone to the Genesis, this is one of the best games to show them the Genesis on. So um, this SNES version, if this was 1993, Clark, I would have said 0. Uh,
Wow.
but
Cutthroat.
this is not 1993, Clark, and I can recognize that there are actually a lot of redeeming qualities about it. So I give it a 2.5.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and give. I'll go now to give Kylie a little more time to think. Um, I'm gonna just echo kind of what Clark said. The Genesis version was one of the defining games of that whole generation for us. I still have awesome memories of when we got our Genesis, and we got two games when we first got our Genesis. It was Aladdin and Jurassic Park, and that's just like seared into
I
my
remember that one
mind.
too.
Yeah. Oh, I guess one thing we didn't mention is like the speech that they have in the Genesis when they you got like some sampled voices and stuff like that. That's I'm not the Super Nintendo version didn't really have that, right? I don't think so. Um, anyways, as a veteran of the console wars, this was definitely on our banner, the Aladdin game, and I'm proud to be a stan for the Genesis game. I give it a 3.1. It's still a fun game, and just like Clark, it's the one I'm gonna pick up and play. But I do, um, I do also like the Super Nintendo version, and I think it's probably just slightly less than that, and so I'm giving it a 2.9.
Okay, really really close then.
Really close,
Yeah,
but
very close.
it's not ever gonna pass up the Genesis version.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, Kylie.
All right. Well, kind of to going back to a point that Clark made earlier as well. For as far as he was saying like the weightiness for like the SNES versus the Sega Genesis, I actually liked the movement and the weightiness on the Sega Genesis version more. Maybe it's because I'm more used to it, but I do feel like it was a little bit crisper. Um, That being said, there were a couple times on the SNES version where I would get like hit by an enemy or a lava puddle or something and get knocked back, and I got like knocked into like the scarab that was like trying to escape or something. So I'm like,
Mhm.
cool, planned. It was intentional. But I'm gonna start with the SNES version. I thought it was pretty fun because I don't hold any nostalgia for that game in particular. Like Aladdin's still a fun thing and everything. Uh, I play a lot of indie games these days. I still play like AAA titles and stuff like that that come out. But I generally like to play a lot of indie development kind of stuff. And I think that that's still pretty fun. I'm gonna be really generous and I'm gonna give it a 3. That it's fun to play for about 10 minutes and then you move on. But like it was still fun and I could find some entertainment in it and I wasn't that mad playing it. Like I mean I got mad at like some of the things that were going on. I'm like, this is BS. But um it was still pretty fun. That being said, I love the Sega Genesis version more. That was the one I grew up on, that you guys raised me on as well.
Mhm.
Um and to add an anecdote before I put in my reasoning for my ranking on this, I was at Walmart with my husband the other day. We were getting new tires put on our car. And so we were just wandering around waiting for our tires to get put on. And we were over in the electronics section. We were in the Nintendo section and there was a physical copy of this game, and then it also came with the Lion King game, and that one also came with the Jungle Book too. The one I have on my Switch is just the first two games and not the Jungle Book, but it had that on there. And then I was telling Dylan, I'm like, yeah, if I were someone who were trying to buy a Switch and just buy a couple of cheap games for like a kid or something, I would absolutely recommend this game to someone even now. And so that being said, I'm gonna be generous. I'm giving it a 4. It's still a fun game to play.
Oh.
Um, but I don't think it would separate itself from the pack. But it's definitely a still fun, solid game that I would still recommend to this day.
Awesome, Kylie. I love your enthusiasm for her. You would have been great in our army back in the day.
Yeah.
I can fight for a cause.
Our propaganda successfully worked, but it's just too late to fight in the war, I guess.
it is it is too late to fight in the war, and unfortunately, I mean, the Genesis won this battle, but I think ultimately people will say that they lost the war. Unfortunately.
Well, that's a story for another podcast.
As you guys move into more Nintendo next week.
All right. Well, we really enjoyed having you on, Kylie, and we really appreciate you coming and sharing your enthusiasm for this game. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming
No,
on.
thanks for having me. You guys know how much I love this game because I was over at your house playing it.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you around next time. See ya.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Oh, how long did it take you guys to figure out what that? I thought it was a scroll item, but did it's not
Oh,
a scroll item. The
the
the cape thing or whatever
yes,
the.
the
It's
parachute.
Kylie, would you be interested in maybe doing Monkey Ball with us too? We don't have a co-host for that yet.
I'd be so down. Like, you know how much I love Monkey Ball Cam. You know how much I love
I
that
know.
game. But I don't know how to. I don't have a GameCube. I don't know how to emulate it, so I would need help getting that all figured out. Do I need a GameCube? Is there an emulator? Like, how can I monkey ball?
Let's
I'm
look.
gonna go to the bathroom real quick, guys. You guys keep talking.